Yeah. Got my popcorn for the show, it's Tubi time. Cheesy sci-fi flicks and every weird rhyme. Aliens and spaceships made of tinfoil dreams in a cardboard universe where nothing's as it seems. Yeah, that's it seems. They got ray guns blasting in a paper sky. Cheap effects, but fun enough to fill your eye. Plot holes deeper than a crater on the moon, but I'm hooked like fish to a melody and tune.
Hello, and welcome to To Be Decided, a spin-off of our Film Logic podcast. My name is Mike, and I'm with the three greatest people in the world, who will now share their names.
What's going on? I'm Adam.
It's Ivy.
Hey, what's happening? It's Vin.
Yep, these are my ride or die bros. We watch movies, and we talk about them.
And cry about them.
It's what we do.
Speaking of crying,
Oh.
we gotta let the cat out of the bag. We lied.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're a
that's
bunch
right.
of filthy liars.
On April 1st, we lied for an hour and a half.
Everything I said was
That
factual.
is actually true.
Whoa,
Yes.
is it going to be retroactively factual?
The truth you used was to support the
Yeah,
lie.
it made it more believable.
So,
For the rest of us
Yes.
lying scumbags.
yes. There is no Greg Brady directed movie about World War II in the vein of Die Hard. And I'm
We
so
got
sorry.
you.
There
Should be. Yeah, that was in April 1st. I am so sorry. Please stop sending us
You've
death
been getting
threats.
death threats?
Right.
Not me.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
release the Brady cut.
They don't care enough to send me death threats.
Yeah, it's
Someone
horrible.
likes me.
Like
Oh, we like you.
poor Dennis Quaid is getting bombarded.
Jonathan Frakes Insta is like being lit up.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rage bait.
So, just getting that off my chest. This is my confession. I feel 10 pounds lighter.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep. So, let's talk about a real
Why?
movie. How about?
Now they can't trust us. They
How's
don't know if we're
about
telling the truth anymore.
All right,
'Cause this one
everyone
also
go to
sounds fake.
Tubi.com. Yes. Everyone go to Tubi.com. Look up Leviathan, not levitation. I almost said levitation. That would be another lie. This movie is 1989's Leviathan. And it was suggested by Adam. Adam, tell us why you
Yeah.
chose this movie.
Yeah, what a great question. It just felt like it fit exactly like what we love on this podcast, right? It has like a real B/C tier list acting. Like, you got your Peter Wellers and Ernie Hudson and Amanda Pays, who play, your favorite side characters in your random 1990s movies. And it was directed by George B. Cospa. I don't even know how to say his last name. Cosmapatos. I don't know. Seems Greek, but you know him from awesome movies like Tombstone. Probably it's probably in the conversation for one of the best Western movies ever made. But yeah, it's just, and also all the special effects for this movie were done by one Stan Winston, who is an Academy Award-winning special effects artist. So you'd be like, he's known for his stuff like the Terminator series, Jurassic Park, Alien, The Thing,
Pumpkinhead.
all the Predator
Okay,
movies, Iron Man, Edward Scissorhands. Yeah,
That
so like
last one, The Thing, that makes so much sense right
Oh,
now.
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie definitely takes a lot of hints from that. Takes a lot of nods from that movie.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so like it has all the it has all the trappings of a real A-list movie,
Hmm.
but it only made 19 million at the box office, and it kind of just bombed.
Oh.
But it's kind of stuck around and kind of just like stuck around as um like a cult classic almost in the corners of the internet. I think people have come back to it, and it definitely has when you watch it now in 2025, there's a lot of like very 90s nostalgia with it. Like you look at like all the computers and stuff on it, you're like, yeah, that's running Windows 95. I can tell.
Mm.
And yeah, so it's just like a classic late 80s, early 90s, sci-fi horror movie. And while the plot isn't anything to write home about, it's 90 or so minute runtime really makes it worth your while, I
Yeah.
think.
Mm. And we're definitely going to talk about that. So,
Yeah.
in the rankings for this movies, Leviathan, it comes in at a 5.8 on IMDb, a 23% on Rotten Tomatoes, 27% on the People's Score side of Rotten Tomatoes. And as you said, Adam, when I looked it up, it was like between 15 and 19 million dollars. So,
Hmm.
in $1989, I don't know what that is. But so this movie didn't. I think this movie, we can safely say it. People didn't like it in 1989, and
Yeah.
how it fares now is, we're gonna tell you. I think it fared really well. Like
Yeah.
it felt. I could feel the the love letter to the 7 better movies it was trying to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Alien Underwater.
Um,
And also The
yeah,
Thing.
yeah. Underwater. Yeah. Underwater, no one can hear you make bubbles. Yes.
No one can hear you jog around
But
your space station.
mhm. So Leviathan comes in at a 5.8. Dante's Inferno is at a
What? I didn't
6.5.
realize that
So
was so high.
yeah, there's no justice, but Leviathan beats out Scary Movie,
Mm.
which was 4.8.
Wow.
But I do have good news. Cash Storm shrank 2 whole points, is now a 7.3.
Whoa.
So that director must have angered his fans,
Justice.
and they retaliated.
That's wild. Because that was at like a
Mhm.
9 something, right?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah. We're still safe with Don't Mess with Grandma at a 7.0. So, Adam,
Yes.
would you like to explain the whole rundown of the, and then we can take the bird's eye view of the story, and then we're going to look at it through a microscope.
Sure. Yeah, I'll hit you with the overview. This movie is a 90s movie because every character has a nickname. Like um there's a doctor named who's just called Doc. I don't even know if they call him by Glenn. His character's name is Glenn. I don't know if they call him Glenn. Then there's Elizabeth Williams, who they just call Willie, who's gonna be an astronaut. And then there's classic, 90s Kraken wise, socially awkward, burnout, Buzz Six Pack Parrish.
Hmm.
By
And
Daniel
then
Stern. Yep.
Justin Jones, Tony DeJesus, who almost dies in the first like 3 seconds of the movie. Bridget Bowman, whose defining characteristic is that she's blonde and hot, and GP Cobb, whose defining characteristic is that he's a nerd. Um, and they all work for this like it. I don't even know how to describe it. It's like a mining company, but they mine for like ore underwater. Um, and kind of like how oil rigs, you spend like 3 or 4 months, on working. You live in this on the oil rig, and then you have 6 months off. It's kind of that same thing, right? They live in this underwater base, and they go out and mine underwater silver. And one of the nights or one of the days they go out, Six Pack kind of falls off into a canyon underwater, and they discover this old like Russian ship, and they go in and they explore it, and they find like a safe, and inside of it they find a bunch of gold and like a bunch of stuff, and then they also find um a bottle of
Russian
what is it
vodka.
called?
Vodka.
Yay, booze.
Russian vodka. Yay, booze. Um so so but they get that confiscated, but Six Pack finds a flask of it, and he kind of steals it, and he's drinking a bunch of it in his little bunk, and he shares it with Bowman, the aforementioned blonde. And meanwhile, Doc and Beck, the other kind of main character, I guess, he's kind of like the middle manager. Um, they are reviewing these tapes that they found in the safe, and they realize that everybody on the ship had died under mysterious circumstances. Um, and following the morning after, Six Pack is starting to feel sick, in typical body horror alien fashion. And, he's getting all these skin lesions, and he's getting super gross. Also, all the special effects in this movie are grade A. Like the costuming, the set design, everything looks super
Right.
awesome. If you enjoyed all the trash compactor scenes in Star Wars, you love this movie. um so eventually Six Pack succumbs to this disease, and so they're trying to keep it hush hush quiet, and so only Doc and Beck know. But because Bowman also had it, she starts feeling ill, and then they kind of discover Six Pack's body, and her not wanting to go through with that, commits suicide. So they stick the two bodies into a body bag, and just as they're about to toss it into the ocean, the bodies very grossly are they're like fused together, right?
Right.
It's gross. And it starts attacking them, and it like it claws Cobb, and they then they then figure out that the Leviathan was experimenting with like DNA manipulation, and it was in the not the medicine, but the formula or whatever that they were using was in that flask that they drank.
Mhm.
But while they had tossed the bodies out of the waterlock, a tentacle had gotten cut off, which is super gross. It turns into this like giant leech thing, and it sneaks up on who was it? Was it DeJesus, or it was somebody in the kitchen? And he like starts to attack him, and then he gets kind of like sealed inside the kitchen while they they do the classic like hide and seek, try to find this jump scare, and then it kind of assimilates into DeJesus, and he starts to grow like these gross tentacles, and he starts attacking people. And the movie kind of progresses in the very stereotypical way, right? The creature is kind of running amok in the station. He's destroying stuff. He's like looking for things to continue to multiply itself. And then they eventually try to they have like a bunch of blood for transfusions. They kind of use it as like a as a lure for the monster to try to kick it out of the ship. But let's see. Now I'm getting confused. So they do that, and then it's just the part where
Eventually,
the
there's an
doctor-
implosion that
Oh, right. Well, before that, doesn't the doctor like gives like a he feels like this moral conviction that none of them can make it to the surface because they've been exposed to this, so he like ejects all the escape
Yeah.
pods. So then they like try to get an emergency evacuation, and but they can't because they can't get evacuated because there's like a hurricane. Eventually more of the crew start to mutate, and eventually Doc and some of the other guys kind of transform also. They kind of it's kind of like a more cat and mouse situation, right? The monsters running through the station, they're hiding, and they're trying to survive for the night, and then they realize so they get on like a computer, and they discover that the corporation that they work for has like declared them dead and they're not coming, which is classic. And then the creature thing destroys something, destroys a machine a MacGuffin machine thing, and it makes there's an explosion that's going to happen. So they all the remaining survivors try to get into their dive suits, and they try to escape. And just as they kind of make it to the surface, they're they think they're safe. They see a helicopter and
and a shark.
and a shark. Then the mutant like comes up out of the water, which is really funny. And Jones sacrifices himself to keep it there, and then they throw a very classic Jaws explosive into its mouth, and they make it explode. And then they get dropped off on an oil drilling platform, and
Yes.
then there's a classic how you doing? Glad you made it back. We knew you would survive. And then the middle manager punches his boss in the
Yeah.
face. And that's the end of
Yay,
the
Hollywood
movie.
ending.
The satisfying end of the movie.
Satisfying end of movie. Yeah, it's crazy because like the movie it's good that it was like 90 minutes long, because if it was any longer, I definitely would have overstayed its welcome. And the fact that this movie was written by David Peoples and Jeb Stewart is incredible. If you don't recognize those names, that's okay. They wrote Blade Runner and 12 Monkeys, and they wrote Die Hard, funnily enough, and like The Fugitive. So you'd be like, oh yeah,
Wow.
like there's so many A-list people attached to this project, but this is what we got from it. You're just like,
Its biggest
okay.
flaw is that nothing happens for like an hour, and then everything happens at the end. And it's like, where was this energy like for the past hour?
Well,
yeah.
That was the part, like, trying to figure out who is the monster. Like, in the beginning, like, they grab this weird crab lobster thing, and I'm like, is that the monster? And then when Daniel Stern falls down the cliff, and there's like, oh, he's near these tube worms. I'm like, are the tube worms the monster? And so I had no idea what like the final form was going to be. And yeah, you have to wait 50 minutes before you actually see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even like like all the technical aspects of this movie are like really great. Like, we talked about, the set design of the costuming. Like even the score was scored by Jerry Goldsmith, who of course is an Academy Award winner for a couple of small movies like Patton and The Omen and the first Star Trek movie, Under Fire, LA Confidential, Basic Instinct, Mulan. So like you'd be like, it has like all the things on paper that it should be like this awesome S plus god tier movie, and it just isn't for whatever reason.
It sounds a lot like studio
Too many cooks in the kitchen,
interference.
I think.
Yeah, something.
Mhm. So now we're going to discuss some of our favorite scenes and discussions, and I just want to start off with saying this movie's a love letter to The Thing. Like 1982 is The Thing. The reason I know that is because as soon as the movie ended on Tubi, The Thing 2016 just popped up, and I watched that whole movie and actually thought that this movie that we're talking about right now is better than the 2016 The Thing prequel.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a pretty horrible
I'm getting all
try.
kinds of signs that I should be watching The Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's on Tubi, but this is we have The Thing at home.
Yeah.
And it's called Leviathan.
We have Alien at home.
We have The Thing at home, uttered by millions of parents everywhere.
Yeah. So I wanted to know, like, what was the whole monster's deal? Like, because wasn't the monster like combining himself? Like, you have Daniel Stern. He was the first one to get sick, and he started getting all these like monstrous lesions and holes in him. And then the blonde, she gets sick. And isn't there a point, like, even before they're like thrown out, that they like bond together? Like the monster like has to like attach itself
it
to
kind
other
of
things.
becomes like one biomass.
Is that
between Six Pack and the other one?
Yeah. It's like the Blob.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had trouble like solidifying like what is this monster? Where is it? How many pieces does it have?
Well, the doctor keeps
because it's kind of all over the place.
Yeah, and the doctor says something which I feel like they say in like every like sci-fi movie with like a mutation or whatever. But they're like, well, man is exploring under the water, so the underwater organisms are evolving. It's like, but why? Like, you're in a submarine underwater. Why would they? I don't know. It's like I don't know, make it out like it's trying to be more human because of them, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, you're right. They had that one scene where, and I love this in movies where like the main characters that are not attached to the monster or its backstory, they kind of they hazard a guess, and your brain says that has to be it. Like, when I think it's Ernie Hudson, his character was like, what if the Leviathan was trying to force its mates to turn into fishmen so that they could have underwater workers 24/7 to do their will? And it's like,
yeah, you're right.
Like, that was a guess, but I'm guessing that's the answer.
It's canon.
It would be hilarious if like they made that like really good educated guess, and then we find out at the end it was bad caviar.
Yeah. In the end, the Russian the lab that made this just had an assistant who got bored one day and decided to put, all these different
Yeah.
chemicals and, genetic strains and stuff, just to see what might happen. And
Yeah, he dropped his sardines on the DNA samples, and that's just what happened.
yep, seems legit.
Yeah, whatever the Leviathan was trying, they failed completely. Unless, like, the thesis was, I bet I could combine people into this blob of horror and affront to God.
Did anyone else get vibes of The Abyss when watching this? Have y'all seen? Because that
that
is
makes sense.
where I went. I mean, of course, obviously, James Cameron made The Abyss, in much later, but I feel like it's entirely possible that Cameron might have seen this movie, been taking notes, and been
Yeah.
like, okay, well, there's what not to do. There's also what not to do. Don't do that. Don't do that. Maybe do that with the Russians a little bit, but yeah. Yeah. I mean, instead of
Did the Abyss do well?
I think so. I mean, it's pretty, highly acclaimed. It kind of, between that and
Yeah.
Terminator 2, it's sort of, got Cameron set up to, make stuff like, like Titanic and Avatar and all of that. So yeah, that's where I would I mean that was kind of my reasoning when I saw this. I mean, Leviathan walked so that the Abyss could run. Basically.
Absolutely. And what
Crichton.
about Michael
Crichton.
Crichton's
You know what?
Sphere movie?
Yeah.
That makes
Crichton. Stupid silent C.
You know what? That makes perfect sense also, now that you mention that. Yeah. Sphere is also really good. This was trying to be, well, I mean, this was like proto Crichton because, this came out before Jurassic Park was a thing. So it was trying to
Yeah.
figure out a lot of things.
Yeah. It was the blueprint.
Yeah.
It was like the baby.
The unstable prototype.
Right. Yeah. Yes. Such a metaphor.
Leviathan came out 5 months before The
Oh.
Abyss.
Oh.
So they must have been talking. People were talking in Hollywood.
Something.
Leviathan might have done it first, but Abyss did
Were
it
they
better.
switching notes?
Well, there's another movie called Deep Star 6 that also came out in 1989. That's also a science fiction horror film. Its plot is about a crew of an underwater military outpost trying to defend their base against the attack of a sea monster.
All right. 1989 was crazy for
Okay.
underwater alien spinoffs.
Well, I know what I'm watching.
It was directed by Sean Cunningham,
Mhm. Yeah.
who did Friday the 13th.
Oh.
Crazy. These movies, someone went out of their way to put these under a rug.
Yeah.
Or maybe just time just didn't let them continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably one of those things where The Abyss came out and it kind of was the best out of the three of them, and it just made everybody forget about it.
Leviathan, what? Deep Star, who?
Winning an Academy Award, being nominated for a bunch of others, and then making $90 million in the 80s is like, that'll bury any competition.
Or drown it.
Yep. Or drown it. Well, in similar vein of this movie, like all three of those movies should have combined
Yeah.
together into one
Oh, a meta
underwater alien
Leviathan.
movie that was a monstrosity. Yeah.
The Deep Star Abyss Leviathan.
I mean, we haven't talked about Daniel Stern, but I would love it if someone by the end of this episode came up with like a theory where that Daniel Stern, he somehow survives, moves to Chicago, decides to be a criminal, and terrorize Macaulay Culkin. Is there any way we can link that?
Oh my gosh. I didn't even realize that's who that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it looked familiar.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wild.
He's the wet bandit, and where does he get the wet from? From being underwater.
What a
That's
bunch of
wild,
coinkydinks. Yeah. Yeah, Daniel
Wow.
Stern seems to kind of worm his way into some of the most unexpected places. Like that new show, like that show on Apple TV for All Mankind. He was in this last season of it. I'm like, what? Is it Marv? You've infiltrated NASA?
It's all connected. It's someone get out the red string.
Well,
we can
I
make
mean,
this work.
that For All Mankind is in an alternate timeline. So,
Mm-hmm.
you might need some like quantum string for that part of the conspiracy board.
It's like the
Yeah.
Marvel Cinematic Universe of Daniel Stern characters.
Right.
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, we have Daniel Stern, and I thought he was like a very interesting character. He plays like the stereotypical jerk and womanizer, and he doesn't hide it. Like he goes right up to the women and like names a time and a day when he wants to sleep with them. And the women, I don't know, do they defend themselves very well,
they're
or
just
do they kind of like,
yeah,
oh,
they're
you?
like, oh well, thanks. Like, it's very weird.
Typical Stern. So, and by the time like you see him like grabbing the flask. By the way, the vodka has its own subplot.
Yeah.
Like, who stole it? How did they get it? How did they like? It
It's
was
a
kind
big
of
part of like the first act, pretty much.
The movie got more like the movie had more investment with the vodka bottle and how to remove it and how to sneak it than they did with the monsters in the beginning.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like there were some choices that could have been made differently with the vodka. I mean, obviously on paper, you're gonna look at, okay, underwater marine knots discover bottle of Russian vodka. This is an 80s movie. What are they gonna do? They're gonna drink it. How are we going to work this? How are we gonna tell this part of the story? And it just doesn't work for me. Like, because the story, like the thing with it is that their boss knew that they were going to break into the safe, so he purposefully switched out the vodka for water. And how, like, wouldn't they know that something was up when they opened the bottle and didn't smell booze? Like,
yeah.
And wouldn't
that's
some
what
of
I'm
the
saying.
debris
There
still
would have
be in
still
that?
been particles
making-
from this, Leviathan virus bacterium thingy.
Unless there's a deleted scene where you see him like expertly
Yeah.
funneling out this down to like a microcellular level.
Boils the bottle in a pot of water,
Yeah.
expertly removes and reapplies the Russian label.
It's like there will be absolutely no molecule of vodka touching the tongue of any of my mates. So, I believe the first like 40 minutes of this movie is all like with each other,
Yeah.
and most of it is, I'm just kind of I'm messing with you. I'm gonna mess with you. I'm gonna troll you. Everything you say is gonna anger me. Like no one really has any friends or like positive outlooks in this.
I mean, because they're basically like sailors. They've been spending, 6 months at least, in a can?
Mm.
Or, one giant can. And they go into smaller cans in which to work and extract ore from and all of that. But, of course, they're going to be stressful. I mean, that's why NASA has such rigorous standards for when, they send astronauts up, long term for, to the International Space Station. So they don't go crazy and start attacking the other
Right.
crew members and turning into Leviathan monsters and things.
Well, and that brings up the other point. Like this movie had its own Wayland Corporation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have that
Mhm.
that shady over director, and how she keeps threatening to like ruin their lives, take away all their money if they show even a slightest bit of hesitance in the work they're doing. And she's the reason that they're not safe.
Mhm.
This over director, and the ending of the movie is Becker punches her out and is like, you almost killed us all with your stupid lies about hurricane.
Exactly. It's it's the obligatory 80s triumph. Punch the man in the face. Well, punch the boss lady in the face. Kind of. I don't know, man. This is. I feel like they didn't. I don't know what they were doing with the CEO. Like, they had shots. They included shots of her. Like, she would be done with the video call with the middle manager, and she'd turn off the monitor, and then it would just show her silently in her office, just like staring off. Like, what does
Yeah.
this mean? Like, why are you putting so much attention on this character? Did she, did she secretly develop this Leviathan virus? Is she one of them? Is she an alien? I don't know what's happening. What are you trying to tell me?
I feel like there were like 50 script pages that got ripped out
Yeah.
that would have explained her role in all of this. There's also this weird scene near the end where Ernie Hudson like looks into the dark. They're like being chased, and he looks into the dark cave, and he sees the doctor's face like inside
yeah.
the monster, and he's like, "Doc." And the guys are like, "What did you say?" "I just thought I saw Doc." And then they just leave it alone. Like, what was the point of that? I'm sure there's like extra pages that they just had to gut, which probably added to why this movie didn't do so
Yeah.
well. Someone took a meat cleaver to this and said, "Your movie's 6 hours. Can we get it down to 90?"
Well, yeah, it's like they, cut a bunch of stuff that would have been nice to see or like necessary, but for the ending, it's like they had like 4 different ways they wanted it to end, and they just picked all of them, all of the above. Because there's a part where they come to the surface, and you're like, okay, like roll credits, they're safe. No, there's a shark in the water. So they fight a shark, and you're like, okay,
For like a
for like
second.
a second, they just like have to like punch a shark or whatever the frick they do to it. And then you're like, okay, then, that's like the last gag, and then they'll roll credits. No, then the other monster comes out of the water, and then they blow it, and, guts go everywhere. And you're like, okay, now roll credits. Then there's the scene where they punch the CEO, and it's like...
Are we good?
You just picked every possible, like, roll credits moment, and you just put them all together.
Wait, hold up. Did anyone else
Right.
catch this? Okay. Right after the... right after, like, sometime between when the three of them come up to the surface and when they finally have their, like, last showdown against the monster, like, right before it ate Ernie Hudson's character, he says, "Guys, I'm cold. Like, I'm so cold." Like he starts describing symptoms of what was he like?
I didn't notice
Was
that.
he like being infected? Was that, and is that like an attempt to take the movie in yet another direction where, oh, surprise, the monster survived in one of the people, and it's gonna
The
destroy
doctor
the
was
world.
right.
The doctor was right.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that would sound cool. I think that was like chopped up, ripped out. And I think the shark had a purpose and they're like, the shark's probably going to lead into Ernie Hudson turning into the monster, and maybe he was supposed to bond with the shark in the original script, but they're like, yeah, no. Just have the shark kind of just swim around them and just get bored of them and swim away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm just picturing like an assistant or a secretary or something in the studio with the script for this. There's like 2 piles on their desk. Like there's the actual script and there's everything that got deleted. And then like someone spilled coffee over them, or like they all got like tossed to the floor. It's like, oh no, we don't know what's the movie and what's not supposed to be in the movie. And they want it right now. Okay, well, pick these up. Yeah. Okay, there you go. Yeah, the movie in itself is a Leviathan of writing.
Yeah. Right. It's a mishmash of ideas that someone had to edit around to make this whole thing work. Which, release the real Leviathan cut.
Yeah. The Snyder cut.
I want to see what they wanted. Now, everyone knows Ernie Hudson is everyone's 4th favorite Ghostbuster.
That's valid.
But he is jacked in this movie. Like,
yeah,
you wouldn't think of him as a superhero, like as the strong arm. He was definitely not the strong arm of Ghostbusters. But in this movie, he's the muscle.
Yeah, I really enjoyed his character. He was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
He was the moral compass. No. So there are some cheesy lines I found in this movie.
Really?
You don't say.
Just a few. I wrote down when they, the 6-pack is like hassling the girls, and one of go suck a shrimp. I'm like,
Ayo.
oh yeah, this movie's gonna have some great one-liners.
I don't recall what Peter Weller said when he put the bomb or whatever in the mouth of the monster. I remember it was really funny, but I don't remember what he said.
I got it tattooed on me.
Wow.
Like that line is they were trying for the jaws. But he basically said, "Say ah."
That's
MF,
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the monster's like,
throws the
okay.
bomb, which it doesn't. I don't even think it goes in the monster's mouth, but
It just like explodes next to it.
right.
Or I like at the end of the movie when he punches his boss in the face. He's like, "I feel a lot better now." And then roll credits.
Right.
The Avengers will return in
Electric
Leviathan
Boogaloo.
2.
I mean, we that say ah MF line. As parents, we've all said it to our kids when feeding them. I always wondered where that line came from. It came from Leviathan.
I think one of my more hostile orthodontists used to say that. So
Yes. It's just so funny, yeah. So, do we ever find out the monster's end game? Like, I know they say it wants to survive, and there's that scene where they're, I think DeJesus, right? He's in the kitchen, and above the kitchen is like this blood Twizzler.
oh yeah,
These blood Twizzler straws.
yeah.
Which is a weird place to put blood.
It's like through the entire cabinets. It's just everywhere. There's just a tubing.
Right. It's like those freeze pops. You take one out of the freezer and you cut it, and someone made that into a blood.
I thought that was like
lab.
coolant for the for the station or something. Like it all got like they used high C fruit punch to keep everything cool.
Right. So
that would make more sense,
right?
Yeah. So we learned that the monster, he strikes pay dirt when he finds the Twizzler blood closet. But then I'm not sure, like, is the monster trying to bond with these people? Is that why he's chasing them down? Does he just want to kill them because he's a monster? Or is it just like, does it not matter at the end when they're in peril? We just know that the monster's bad, and it's going to keep popping up.
Yeah, I think you're overthinking it,
It's
Mike.
just a monster, man.
Yeah.
It just wants to ooze with people.
I mean, what was in that vodka DNA strand? I don't know, monstrous predator DNA? I don't know.
I don't think the director knew either.
Evidently.
Yeah. The gory bits were really good, though.
Well.
Like the horror, and it was actually pretty enjoyable once it got started.
Yeah, the effects definitely carried the movie hard. And I do think that the sound design was really solid too for like for what it was. It was very atmospheric, and I think they got all the machinery noises.
Shout out to the Foley artists.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. It definitely felt like you're in a rusty tub at the bottom of the ocean.
Yeah. Is that how implosions work? Where like the ship starts to fall apart a little, but then like at the last second it super implodes like a time bomb? Because I thought implosion, like they'd be screwed by like the third minute because there'd be no breathable air and their faces would cave in.
Who knows?
Who
knows?
Yeah, they treated like the implosion like it's a time bomb.
I don't know enough about human physiology and air and water pressure. I do know that the rapid decompression of them, going from the imploding, sea station can under the water, shooting up in the suits, disassembling the suits, and swimming for that first gasp of air up on the surface, that nobody was gonna come out of that unscathed. Okay, that is Bend City right there.
Yeah. Well, I think they hand waved that away with their suit had like a decompression
Oh, they were smart suits.
like mechanism on it.
Yeah. It's like suspension of disbelief. You just but the people, the real ones know. The scuba diving enthusiasts, who may not be all that many, will watch this. Because it was hard enough getting regular people to watch it.
Another thing I wanted to bring to light is the technology that was imagined for this thing is the technology we have now. When Doc is looking up the DNA strand in the vodka or in the skin sample, he's typing into an AI thing, typing into like Siri or Bing, because he's like, Siri, what is in this DNA? We don't know. Well, would you like to take a guess? It's human DNA, like that's been altered. Like he wasn't talking to like scientists. He was asking the computer to like
That is
take a
an
guess
excellent
what this
point.
was.
Really doing his job.
This was Alexa's prototype.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really don't know what that was. Again, it's just it's just a tool to try to tell some of the story. To try to give some plausible meaning to what the doc keeps supposing and sort of hypothesizing based on these Russian tapes that he finds. Like he's got to interpolate everything that comes through it. Like we don't know. We touched on this before. We don't know what the motives were for the Russian scientists. We don't know why it was in the vodka. We don't know anything about it. And the computer's there to just give a little clarity. Plus, it's like a talking robot, and who doesn't love a talking robot from the 80s?
Yeah.
Yep. I want to know how many minutes till I implode.
I think they have an app for that.
Thank you, computer.
Hey, Google.
Yeah.
How many minutes until I implode while watching Leviathan?
Yes.
Incredible. Well, Mike, should we land this plane?
Well, let's land this plane. So, Adam, in your best, what is the Citizen Kane moment of this movie? Like, why does it exist to benefit all of cinema kind?
Yeah, I think that there are movies that exist purely for the spectacle. Your Avatars, your this movie I think is another great example of where just the technical aspect of it is such a love letter and like such a pinnacle of the art of filmmaking, and then there are movies where it's all about, you know, the actors on screen, and the writing kind of takes the forefront over, you know, some of the visual effects. You know, stuff like you think of like Schindler's List, right? The movie's like literally in black and white because, you know, it doesn't want to distract from, you know, the story that's being shown on screen. Or stuff like Parasite, where, you know, it's very just like single camera stuff, right? And I feel like this movie is definitely a you know, if you watch a lot of modern movies and you're like, oh man, I wish for the days of practical effects. I miss the days of, you know, clunky, awesome 90s, you know, cyberpunk-ish, you know, future tech stuff, you know, or, you know, just a walk down memory lane. I feel like this is the movie for you, right? Like, don't watch this movie trying to, you know, try to find a plot, because there's not.
Right.
You know, don't watch this movie, you know, because there's, you know, fantastic writing, or, you know, the cinematography is cool. Like, there's some nice shots. But this movie is all about just the set design, monster and costuming, and, you know, practical effects. So if that's your jam, if you you know, a nerd for that stuff, that's what this movie is all about.
Mm-hmm.
The plot is almost like secondary
or tertiary, even.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?
I do have to say, though, this movie kind of set the path for, like, we were talking about other better movies, like
Ooh,
Event Horizon.
That's a good one.
Event Horizon couldn't have existed without movies like this trying their lame
Mhm.
shtick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. It's like we're at like the end of the 80s, and we've been to space. We've done the alien body horror type stuff. Leviathan comes along, says, "Hold my beer. I'm going to do this underwater." And yeah, it just kind of reinvigorates. It did kind of reinvigorate, I think, the whole film industry, because, you know, we did end up getting better movies in, you know, the genres of suspense and body horror and drama and such. So yeah, we needed a movie like this.
Mhm.
I mean, movies like this have a reason to exist. And that's to motivate others to do better.
Yeah.
And I feel like the same thing's going to be said about
Well,
Borderlands.
you're not wrong.
In 15 years, people are going to be like, this movie had everything going for it. It had Jack Black, this actress, it had this budget, but it failed so horribly. But look at all these great video game movies that came out after it. Just, you know, Borderlands faltered so that, you know...
So Minecraft could run.
So Minecraft could win. Yeah. So Roblox the
boy.
movie could be amazing.
Freaking Roblox.
You know.
Tower Defense, the movie.
So,
Bloons.
yes. Bloons 6, the movie. Yeah. So who wins the award for best part of this movie? It could be an actor. It could be the guy who serves the craft services. It could be a camera holder. It could be a director. Ivy, let's start with you.
I think the answer is pretty straightforward. Stan Winston. I mean, he's always done really solid, like, you know, effects and creature designs. Some more prominent than others. This wasn't his greatest work, obviously, as far as just like how the design stands out, but it still looked really great, and I loved all the goo and bodies meshing together and gore and all that.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, definitely
Yeah.
good body horror. Adam.
I'm gonna shout out Eugene Lipinski, who if the name doesn't strike you as familiar, that's because he's the guy that does the awful Russian accent as the Russian
What?
captain at the
What?
beginning of the movie. It's truly one of the worst Russian accents I've ever heard in a movie.
I didn't think that was a Russian ship, and I think it was because I wasn't convinced by his accent.
It was truly awful.
It just,
Mm.
yeah.
All right, and Vincent.
I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna call back the Foley artists because in addition to the bad writing notwithstanding and all that, there are great special effects. Again, the classic, body horror, gore, sort of simulated viscera and all of that. That is only amplified by the immersive sound effects, by actually feeling like you were in this tin can 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea with these people. I mean, that could have been me. I was watching the movie with all the lights turned off at like 11 p.m. So
Yeah.
yeah, that really sold it for me.
Yeah. My choice for the winner of this movie is Ernie Hudson.
Nice.
Man, he bulked up for this movie, even knowing that this might not get him into an action career, which you can tell from his future and on IMDb. This didn't land him anything really into the actions, but he tried, and he really tried to be the muscle in this movie, and I think his trainer and him did an excellent job. And it needs to be copied what he tried.
Yeah. But he was great.
So let's get the final verdict. And I've added one.
Oh.
So, because I think this fits well with some of the movies that we watch. So we have, is this movie to be the greatest? Is it just to be enjoyed? Is it to be disposed or to be forgotten?
Oh.
Which means it's not horrible. You just won't ever want to remember it again.
Interesting.
We're canonizing the Thanos snap in
Yes. To be snapped.
Dante's Inferno.
Hey,
Yes.
fair.
Is anyone ready to take a stab at this?
I'll say it's to be enjoyed. Like, not for the first hour or so, but once it gets down to stuff actually happening, and it was pretty enjoyable. I liked it. It was funny.
Yeah. I'm going to follow you on that and say to be enjoyed, just because I like those actors and actresses. And I think they didn't get in the way. They didn't annoy me. And when it was time to be scared and suspenseful, I think the movie hit all the right tropes.
Yeah.
Well, I think I am going to lock in the hat trick and also call this to be enjoyed. Again, the beginning is a pretty, it starts pretty slow, but I mean, this is kind of just, like I've made the analogy before. You got some friends over, you're just, killing 90 minutes, You got some beers, some pizza, you know, you get the party started for like the first half hour or so, and then, things get interesting. So yeah, if you're looking for something to kind of just occupy your time for 90 minutes, I mean, either with friends
Yeah.
or again, all alone in a dark apartment with all the lights off and no friends. What?
And no friends.
And if you're patient, it'll slide right into the 2016 The Thing movie, and you'll realize that you
Exactly.
had it better.
Exactly.
All right.
Oh.
Adam, did we ask you?
No. Yeah, I think this is to be enjoyed. I mean, it's not, I think if it was any longer, it would be maybe to be forgotten, but yeah, the effects, like the technical aspect of it is makes it worth watching, I think.
Well, there you
Yeah.
have it, folks.
And before we go, I actually want to really quickly have a good suggestion that's kind of on topic for the audience. There's a Netflix show called Cabinet of Curiosities from Guillermo del
Ooh.
Toro. And there's an episode called The Viewing, and it has Peter Weller. And he's this like really eccentric rich guy with this weird thing. And I'm not going to say anything else, but it's a really, really great episode. It's one of my favorite pieces
I
of
remember
television.
that.
So I highly recommend watching
I had
it.
no.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't
it's a
know
really
that was
cool
Peter
episode.
Weller.
Oh, really?
That is awesome.
Yeah. So if you like Peter Weller
Game changer.
and weird like specimens, that's my recommendation.
If you like Ernie Hudson, you'll notice he's in Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yes.
And that's a pretty good movie, too.
You know what? Those two and Daniel Stern, that's like a trio of actors you'd never expect to see in the same movie. Like,
Right. I also feel like we didn't point out what's her name? The actress that plays the evil CEO. She's in a bunch of stuff. She has like really like strong light blue eyes. She's very like easy to identify. And she's been in like she was in They Live, and she's in Masters of the Universe. But she's in a bunch of stuff, and she's just really iconic. I can't remember her name though.
Yeah, she does look like a Staples 80s
No,
actress.
yeah, she's in
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff. What is her name? I feel terrible now. Meg Foster.
Is her name Miss Martin? And is it played by
Yeah.
Meg Foster? Okay. Yeah, you will love to hate her in this
I know
movie.
I did.
Speaking of which, the next person to choose the movie will be Ivy.
I already know.
Ivy,
I already got it.
any clues? Can you give us
Um,
hints? Or can you just tell us?
Just completely spoil it. It's not very similar to this movie, but it kind of is it's similar in a way that it's like it's way lower budget than this, but it's trying to rip off, like Alien, or just like being trapped in one place with a weird organism. But it's very different in a lot of other ways, and it's very weird and very funny, and has a very, very unexpected, absolutely insane twist at the end. So that is my tease.
So you've already seen this.
I wanted to do this movie like several years ago on like the other podcast, but I never got around to it. So this is my comeback with it.
That is at
Well, we will hear
that
more
is at
about
the
this
same
movie.
time
I'm excited.
saying not that much, but everything at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes. So, thank you so much for joining us in this To Be Decided. Once again, we're sorry about the lies of our last episode. We couldn't help it. And I promise you, there is a movie with Ernie Hudson and Peter Weller and Daniel Stern together. Though that does sound like something we'd make up to be honest.
It's The Boy Who Cried Wolf at this point.
Yeah, but trust us, this is real.
The Boy Who Cried Ernie Hudson.
Anyways, I've been Mike.
I'm
Bye.
Ben.
Thank you for watching To Be Decided.
Yeah. Got my popcorn for the show, it's Tubi time. Cheesy sci-fi flicks and every weird rhyme. Aliens and spaceships made of tinfoil dreams in a cardboard universe where nothing's as it seems. Yeah, as it seems. They got ray guns blasting in a paper sky. Cheap effects, but fun enough to fill your eye. Plot holes deeper than a crater on the moon, but I'm hooked like fish to a melody and tune.